a small bit. One day in the house of Srivas Thakur, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sat down on the bed of Vishnu, and all the devotees worshipped him with the Vedic mantras of the Purusha Sukta, beginning with Sahasra Shirsha Purusha, Sahasraksha Sahasrapat. This Veda stuti should also be introduced, if possible, for installations of deities. While bathing the deity, all the priests and devotees must chant this Purusha Sukta and offer the appropriate paraphernalia for worshiping the deity, such as flowers, fruits, incense, arati paraphernalia, naivedya, vastra, and ornaments. All the devotees worship Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this way, and the Lord remained in ecstasy for 7 praharas, or 21 hours. He took this opportunity to show the devotees that he is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, who is the source of all other incarnations, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10:8. Aham sarvasya prabhavo, mata sarvam pravartate. All the different forms of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, or Vishnu Tattva, emanate from the body of Lord Krishna. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu exposed all the private desires of the devotees, and thus all of them became fully confident that Lord Chaitanya is Supreme Personality of Godhead. Some devotees call this exhibition of ecstasy by the Lord Satta Prahariya Bhava, or the ecstasy of 21 hours. And others call it Mahabhava Prakasha, or Mahaprakasha. There is a description of this Satta Prahariya Bhava in the Chaitanya Bhagavata, Madhya-kanda, chapter 9, which mentions that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu blessed a maidservant named Duki with the name Suki. He called for Kola Vecha Sridhar and showed him his Mahaprakasha. Then he called for Murari Gupta and showed him his feature as Lord Ramchandra. He offered his blessings to Haridas Thakur. And at this time, he also asked Advaita Prabhu to explain the Bhagavad Gita as it is, Gitar Satya Pata, and show special favor to Mukunda. So this is describing a beautiful pastime in the Chaitanya Bhagavad. Unfortunately, I can't put it on the screen because it's not available in the normal database, but I have it from the paid version of the database, which is interesting. So here, let's see, it gives elaborates a little bit more on this pastime. So I'm going to read that in just a minute. But first, the comments regarding what Srila Prabhupada mentioned in the beginning about putting the beds in the deity room. I remember when this started around 1976 or so, maybe 75, because prior to that, we didn't have the understanding of how to do that. So you'll notice many times in Srila Prabhupada's purports, he will give specific instructions for this movement, how things should be done. Very practical. And he also mentions about introducing the Purusha Sukta prayers, which are mentioned later on in this Chaitanya Bhagavad pastime. I'll read a couple of those. So our business, our duty as followers of Srila Prabhupada is to try to incorporate what he wanted in this movement. He gave us the 7 purposes of ISKCON, which are very nicely spelled out, how to conduct the business of the movement. So sometimes devotees will, especially going to India in the beginning and encountering many persons who are practicing bhakti to some degree or another in Vrindavan, in Mayapur, and other places. And they would hear about different activities that were being done in the execution of that person's particular devotional process. And then devotees would try to bring those things within ISKCON. And Srila Prabhupada many times would correct the devotees In other words, this is not how we do things within this ISKCON. So in the purport here, which is, these purports are our law books, not only for the next 10,000 years, but eternally. So whatever Prabhupada gave us here is very important for us to consider, making sure these things are being done. So I know in all the temples in the world now, and even in devotees' homes, they have this process of putting the small bed. But thanks to Srila Prabhupada, he gave us that understanding. And there are other things as well, like the worship of Shaligram Shila, not taking stones from Govardhan Hill, so many things. He gave us details, especially in Chaitanya Charitamrita. As you read through Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's almost like Srila Prabhupada, it's a personal conversation Srila Prabhupada is having with us. It's very, very personal, very sweet, very revealing about how to execute devotional service. Chaitanya Charitamrita, the nectar of the living force in immortality, is how Srila Prabhupada described it. The nectar of the living force in immortality. This is how we worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Lord Chaitanya himself is showing us how to do it. But in this pastime, which is being described as very interesting, because Lord Chaitanya did not like for anyone to call him God. Sometimes he would cover his ears, Vishnu, 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 run to the Ganges. But here is absolutely the opposite. He's sitting on the throne of the deity and is saying he wanted to fulfill the desires of the devotees. Similarly, when Mother Yashoda and the residents of Vrindavan, Krishna would do things in order to give them the assurance, the confidence that they will go back home, back to Godhead. Because to them, he's this little beautiful boy playing in Vrindavan, stealing butter, playing with the monkeys, playing with the other cowherd boys and the gopis and all that. So they began to, like they say, familiarity breeds contempt, but not in the lives of devotees. It doesn't breed contempt. It increases love to see Krishna performing his activities. His Holiness David Amrita Maharaj was giving a lecture on Sunday in Atlanta, and he was extolling the glories of Krishna's footprints and how important they are in the pastimes of the Lord. He gave many nice examples. Krishna's footprints mixed in the yogurt and the butter and all on the floor and everywhere. When devotees see his footprints, they become ecstatic. So Krishna, in order for us to continue in this process, sometimes we need a little encouragement. So the residents of Vrindavan, Krishna would do that. Mother Yashoda, she looked in his mouth, and this happened twice, and she saw the whole universe, the universal form, everything within Krishna's mouth, to give her the confidence. But of course, Krishna wanted her to be, just be my mother. Show me love, chastise me, be my mother. And also for the residents of Vrindavan, he did the same to encourage them. So in our lives as devotees, again, everything we read and study is meant to help us improve our devotional service. It's not just an exercise in intellectualism, that I'll study these books and become intellectually astute. I'll become a scholar in all these literatures. Yes, but for what purpose? The purpose is to increase our Krishna consciousness. As we're reading Chaitanya Charitamrita, something should happen in our lives, because the lives of the devotees are being described here. In this pastime from Chaitanya Bhagavat, he mentions Kolavecha Sridhar and Haridas Thakur and this person, Sukhi or Dukhi. These are all wonderful devotees. So we study their lives, how they interacted with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, how the Lord interacted with them because of their devotion. We should not expect to have this kind of revelation from the Lord if we don't engage in sincere, determined devotional service. Tapo divyam putrakayena sujay. Divine austerities for the purpose of self-realization. I remember His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj was saying once that when we join this movement, generally, devotees give up many things, especially in the beginning days. They gave up their jobs, they gave up their university pursuits, they gave up whatever they had. This one devotee who joined the Atlanta Temple, he was a musician. So he had this big truck and he had all kinds of equipment. He brought it all and just gave it to the temple. So that was the mood. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj is saying, because of that sacrifice that we all made, following in the footsteps of great devotees, like the 6 Goswamis who sacrificed everything to go to Vrindavan, or Haridas Thakur. So Maharaj was saying that because of that initial sacrifice, we got this boost of energy of Krishna consciousness that gave us the strength to take up this practice and for pretty much forsake everything else, at least for some time, So when we surrender like that, the Lord reciprocates. So these devotees are so fortunate, great souls in this pastime, that the Lord showed himself to be the Supreme Personality of God, which is, he never does that. He's always hiding himself as a devotee. He wants to experience the joy of being a devotee and feeling the love that Radharani feels for Krishna. He was expressing his love for Krishna, even though he is Krishna. And now he's showing himself to be the Supreme Lord. So in this pastime from the chapter 9 of the Madhya Kanda in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, I just want to read a little bit so you can get a flavor of it. It's very sweet. And it's been translated by a devotee named Bhumipati. And it's, as I said, included in the paid version of the Veda base, which is authorized through the BBT. So this is one of the authorized translations of the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Chapter 9, the Lord's 21-hour ecstasy and descriptions of Sridhar and other devotees' characteristics. So also in this pastime, the Lord tells the devotees about who they were in past lives. He reveals things to them in this pastime. So this is a quick summary. This chapter describes Sri Gaura Sundar's Sata Pahariya Maha Prakasha, or 21-hour divine manifestation, his sitting on the throne of Lord Vishnu, the performance of his Abhishek by the devotees. That's also another part of this pastimes. They did a beautiful Abhishek of Lord Chaitanya. And we don't hear about that anywhere else. I don't see anywhere else that Lord Chaitanya received an Abhishek like the deity, but here he does. The offering of prayers and the worship of Mahaprabhu with 16 ingredients according to the rules and regulations prescribed with the 10-syllable Gopal mantra, the Lord's eating foodstuffs offered by the devotees, Mahaprabhu's narration of the previous histories of devotees headed by Srivas, the devotees' performance of evening oddity, topics of the topmost devotee Sridhar, and the glories of Vaishnava's characteristics, like this evening arti, Kiba Jayo, Jayo Gaurasanga. We sing every day. And when you sing that prayer, think about what it's talking about. It's talking about the Panchatattva, all the different aspects and how the worship is going on. Beautiful, beautiful prayer. One day, Mahaprabhu came with Nityananda to the house of Srivas. What is that place called? Srivasanga, near Mayapur, Srivasanga, where a beautiful kirtan was happening. Understanding the mood of the Lord, all the assembled devotees began to perform kirtan. Sri Gaura Sundara, who is the supreme teacher of everyone, regularly danced in the kirtan, in the mood of a devotee. Yet in his own, in the mood of a devotee, yet in his own mood, he sometimes sat on the throne of Vishnu as if unaware of what he was doing. So he would sit and act like, oh, what's going on, you know? On this day, however, the Supreme Lord Sri Gaura Sundar concealed his mood as a devotee. He's coming as a devotee, but this time he's concealing his mood as a devotee. And with a desire to accept the service of his surrendered devotees, he sat on the throne of Vishnu for 21 hours and revealed that he is personally Lord Vishnu, the shelter of all devotees. In this Mahaprakasha pastime, he manifested all the forms of Vishnu's incarnations. Let's do a little bit more. This day, in response to the Lord's gesture, the devotees happily worship Sri Gaura Narayan, who is the Lord of Vaikuntha and full in 6 opulences, with various ingredients through the performance of the Abhishek ceremony meant for the King of Kings. After worshiping Mahaprabhu with 16 ingredients according to the prescriptions of the 10-syllable Gopala mantra, the devotees offered various prayers and described his transcendental qualities and pastimes by glorifying him as a cause of all causes, the controller of all controllers, and the Lord who has accepted the mood of a devotee to manifest his own service for delivering the fallen souls. Thereafter, Sri Gaurasundar spontaneously extended his lotus feet to be worshipped. There's another thing that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't do, generally speaking. But this time he extended his feet so that they could worship him. And all the devotees worshiped his lotus feet with various accumulated ingredients according to their respective desires. With a desire to accept the service of his devotees, Mahaprabhu also happily ate various foodstuffs offered by them and began to describe previous experiences of the devotees headed by Srivas. Later, after the devotees finished offering evening arati, Sri Gaurasundar instructed the devotees to bring his dearmost devotee, Sridhar, in order to exhibit his pastimes of opulence to him. Sridhar was a very special devotee of Lord Chaitanya. So we can see in this pastime how the Lord is giving mercy to the devotees. He's the most merciful incarnation of Krishna. And for the sake of the devotees' enhancement of their devotional lives, he's revealing these things. So as we're practicing devotional service, we get small glimpses of the reality of what we're doing. In other words, this is a real process. It's not something that, as I said, it's not an intellectual pursuit. This is a real systematic process if we follow it according to what Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us. So that's very nice pastime, very special. And what else is here? Yes. So I want to go to a couple more verses really quick here. As I mentioned to Mataji earlier, I have to leave at 8:30 because I have to speak at a funeral this morning. So I'm sorry I cut it a little short. So text 19. Varaha avesha khaila murari bhavane tanraskande chadi prabhu nachila ange. One thing about this Bengali, I'll give you a little background. Our temple in Atlanta is called New Panihati Dham. That name was given by Srila Prabhupada. So in 1976, when many of our Sankirtan devotees went to India, we had a special detour. We went to Panihati, where Lord Nityananda performed this pastime. And so we were there on the bank of the Ganges at the actual tree where Lord Nityananda has sat. And our temple president, Balavanta Prabhu, he sat down, and in that place is they call Kirtan Mandap, a nice little covered place by the tree. But all the kids were running with their shoes, going back and forth, running here and there. And then when all of these Western devotees sat down, the old men from the community who did not speak English, they didn't speak any English, and we didn't speak Bengali. Ami Bangala Janina. We didn't know any Bengali. So when we sat down, the old men in the communities, they chastised the children. Stop running. They told them not to run because we were sitting very respectfully. This is a good example of Yat Yadacharati Shrestha. Whatever so-called great men do, common men follow. So because we set that example, the older men in the community, remembering that this is the standard, they stopped those children. So we sat down in Balavanta Prabhu very nicely. He brought one Bengali man, and the Bengali man would read the Bengali, and Balavanta would do the English. I think Vishnu Godal Prabhu does that when he gives the Chaitanya Charitamrita class. So it was very sweet. So when I hear Bengali, although I don't pronounce it completely perfectly, but it's very sweet. It's very like Varaha Avesha Haila Murari Bhavane Tanraskande Chadi Prabhu Nachila Ange. This is Nachila. Dance. Like Nachao. Prabhupada saying, make me dance, Krishna, make me dance. So here is Nachila, dance. Very beautiful. One day, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu felt the ecstasy of the boar incarnation and got up on the shoulders of Murari Gupta. Thus, they both danced in Murari Gupta's courtyard. Purport. One day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to cry out, Shukara, Shukara, thus crying out for the boar incarnation of the Lord. He assumed his form as a boar incarnation and got up on the shoulders of Murari Gupta. He carried a small gadu, a small water pot with a nozzle, and thus he symbolically picked up the earth from the depths of the ocean. But this is the pastime of Lord Varaha. So now, as we were reading from Chaitanya Bhagavad, he's manifesting the different forms, Varaha, etc., because they're all within Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is important because scholars who study Bengali culture, they know about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They actually know. To them, he's a historical figure, as well as Krishna. From many of the scholars, they see Krishna as a historical figure, but they don't understand who is Krishna. Why? Because they're not devotees. As we said earlier, Lord Chaitanya showed the devotees who he was as Supreme Lord because of their devotion. Why would he show himself to mundane scholars, no matter how intelligent they may be? So when they think of Chaitanya, they think he's a Bengali saint. That's how they describe him. And when they think of Krishna, they say he's a black Aborigine prince. That's as much as they can understand. Because understanding Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead, summum bonum, is not easy. And what to speak of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who has such a well-documented history. Well-documented. It's only been over 500 years ago when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came. So they have access to all this knowledge about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but not as Mahaprabhu, not as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Lord Chaitanya, he is the Supreme Lord. So he has all the incarnations. They're all within him. So he can manifest them, just like during the pastime of Jagat Madai, Lord Chaitanya assumed the mood of Vishnu and he called for his Sudarshan to kill these miscreant persons. He said, Sudarshan, 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 and Sudarshan was coming, but Nityananda stopped him. He said, no, you have to remember your mission. Your mission is not to physically kill the miscreants, but to kill their demoniac mentalities through the Sankirtan movement. So Lord Chaitanya became absorbed in that mood of Vishnu. So he's done that several times. But here he's going, Shukara, Shukara, crying out for the boar incarnation. Next verse. Tabe Shuklam Barera Kaila Tandula Bhakshana Hare Nama Slokera Kaila Artha Vivarana. After this incident, the Lord ate raw rice given by Shuklambar Brahmachari and explained very elaborately the import of the Hare Nama slok mentioned in the Brihan Naradiya Puran. Shuklambar Brahmachari resided in Navadvip on the bank of the Ganges. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was dancing in ecstasy, he approached the Lord with a begging bag containing rice. The Lord was so pleased with his devotee that he immediately snatched the bag and began to eat the raw rice. No one forbade him, and thus he finished the entire supply of rice. Now that reminds me of another pastime of Lord Krishna regarding something like rice. Who remembers or can think of this pastime? That Krishna snatched away some rice.
Sudhama's puffed rice.
Who is that?
Sudama.
Yes. What is the story?
So he bought puffed rice and then he was hiding that he couldn't dare to give him because they're seeing the palace and queens and everybody. But Krishna snatched that. You bought something for me.
Yes.
I just, you know what I love and you bought something for me. Give me that. And he snatches it.
And that rice was old flat rice.
Flat rice.
Not first class basmati. Just some flat rice. I remember years ago in Atlanta, our temple president, because we were struggling, we didn't have much money. So he ordered a 50-pound bag of poa from India, which is like low quality. So I'm thinking when Sudam went to Krishna, he didn't have it in his own house. He had to beg it from his neighbors. Then he kept it in a little wrapped it up in a cloth. In India, sometimes you do like that. I remember being in the presence of Srila Prabhupada's sister, Pishima. And we went to one of the temples in Mayapur in Parikram. So when we went in the temple, Pishima had that like a little cloth in her side, like on a sari. She pulled out a little cloth and she had some spices and rupees. Yeah, mainly spices. And then she washed it before she washed it. And the Matajis were helping her. And then she offered to the deities and she put her little pouch back. So I can envision Sudama has this little pouch and Krishna, who knows everything, he knows the hearts of devotees. Keep that in mind. He knows our heart. He's only looking for the quality of our devotional execution. Bhajitam priti purvikam. So he knew what Sudama had brought. He said, you brought something for me? And Sudama was so embarrassed. Now he's in the beautiful palace and sitting on Krishna's bed. No, I didn't bring anything. No, you must have. You wouldn't come here without anything. So then Krishna snatched it away. So look here, he's saying, the Lord was so pleased with his devotee that he immediately snatched the bag and began to eat the raw rice. So when Sudama's in that pastime, he also snatched it and he ate that flat rice. And then he wanted to eat some more. And the goddess of fortune said, no. You don't need to eat anymore. That little bit that you ate will satisfy the whole creation. So whatever we offer Krishna, because Krishna is the root of everything becomes purified. Everything. So powerful. Just by serving Krishna with love and devotion, the whole universe can become purified by that activity. So Lord Chaitanya ate the rice. No one stopped him. And he finished the entire supply of rice. Next verse. Now, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam. Kalo nastyeva, gatir anyata. Srila Prabhupada mentions about this nastyeva. Not by karma, not by jnana, not by yoga. Only by the pure devotional service of the Lord. In this age of Kali, there is no other means for self-realization than chanting the holy name, chanting the holy name of Lord Hari. And I want to get to, there's one verse I really want to cover before we conclude. Here's another verse. Kali Kale Nam Rupe Krishna Avatara. Nama Hoite Hai Sarva Jagat Nishtar. In this age of Kali, the holy name of the Lord, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, is the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Simply by chanting the holy name, one associates with the Lord directly. Anyone who does this is certainly delivered. In the next verse. Yes. Dharja Lagi Harinam Ukti Tinavara Jada Loka Bujaite Puna Evakar. This verse repeats the word Eva, certainly 3 times for emphasis. And it also 3 times repeats Hare Nama, the holy name of the Lord, just to make common people understand purport. And remember, we are the common people. We may be initiated devotees and have some position in the movement, but we're just common folk, very small. So he's speaking to us. It's not that he's speaking to, we like say we distribute the books and we're giving it to someone to educate them. But what we have to understand is for us as well. Prabhupada didn't write these books just for the general public for us to distribute them. He wrote them to guide us. So his purports are to guide us, and these verses are to guide us. So in the purport, to emphasize something to an ordinary person, one may repeat it 3 times, just as one might say, you must do this, you must do this, you must do this. Thus, the Brihan Naradiya Purana repeatedly emphasizes the chanting of the holy name so that people may take it seriously and thus free themselves from the clutches of Maya. It is our practical experience in the Krishna consciousness movement all over the world that many millions of people are factually coming to the spiritual stage of life simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra regularly, according to the prescribed principles. Therefore, our request to all our students is that they daily chant at least 16 rounds of this Hare Nama Mahamantra, offenselessly, following the regulative principles. Thus, their success will be assured without a doubt. So look at that. Let's think about this for a second. Lord Chaitanya is saying, what is that verse in the Shikshastakam? Nam Akari Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis. Nam Akari Bahuda, meaning many, many, many. Forget the exact number. Bahuda Nija Sarva Shaktis. Sarva means all, and Shakti means potencies. So Lord Chaitanya himself, who just demonstrated to us that he's also Varaha, he just demonstrated to us he sits on the throne and he's being worshipped as Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's saying, Nija Sarva Shaktis. Lord, you put all your energies into your holy names. And thus you have hundreds and millions of names like Krishna, Govinda, etc. And each of these names, you've invested all your transcendental potencies, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for this. Or I'm not taking it seriously. I saw something the other day, I'm not sure if it was on Facebook or somewhere, but the devotee mentioned the phrase being distracted chanting. And that really struck me, distracted chanting. And I reflected upon myself that I'm sometimes doing that. You know, sometimes I'm chanting distracted by something else, or chanting while doing something else. And we all have gone through that, whether we're chanting while driving, chanting while cooking, chanting while whatever, chanting while watching TV. Distracted chanting. That's not concentrated chanting. That's not focused chanting. What is focused chanting? Just hearing. Sometimes the devotees say, should I look at this? Should I watch that? Should I look at, whatever? Just chant and hear. Srila Prabhupada said that over and over, emphasized it 3 times, okay? Over and over, just chant and hear. Within that, listen to what the last part of this purport. Following the regular principles, thus their success will be assured without a doubt. So our confidence about going back to Godhead, it's part of the whole process of chanting Hare Krishna. There's nothing greater than the holy names. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur in that bhajan, Udilo Arana Pura Babajin Dujamani Goda Amani. At the end, he says, there's nothing but the holy names to be had in all the 14 worlds. Okay, there's a beautiful poetic statement, which we've all read that statement. We've all chanted that bhajan. But listen to what it's saying. There's nothing but the holy name in all the 14 worlds. So if we were to make the endeavor to go through all the 14 worlds to try to find the truth, or try to find a more effective way of practicing devotional service, some devotees become guilty of that. I'm going to accelerate my devotional service. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Just chant and hear. Just attentive chanting is what's required. And I'm saying that to all of you because I'm saying it to me to remind myself, try my best to improve my chanting because everything is there. You've invested all your transcendental potencies in your name. What else do I need? What else do I need other than the holy name of the Lord? I'm not a poor man. I'm very rich because I have access to chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Now what we have to do is express that to as many people as we can. As Lord Chaitanya instructed that Brahmana, Yari Dekhi Tarikaha Krishna Upadesh. You just give this Krishna Upadesh to as many people as possible. The other day, I was on Harinam downtown Atlanta. And as I parked my car, I have a new process. When I park my car to go back to the spot, I take some books and I go and talk to whoever I can find standing here, standing there. So one homeless guy was standing there with his big bag of things, but he had a smile on his face. So it was very nice. I said, how are you, sir? He said, very nice. We talked for a minute. I said, this book I gave him on chanting. I said, this right here can make your life so much better. I said, I want you to say this word, Hare Krishna. And he said it so beautifully. I said, but that's too soft. Say it louder. And he went, Hare Krishna. I said, now your life is perfect. So he went on his way. I went on my way. Every person we meet somehow try to encourage them. Like today, I was saying I have to leave in a few minutes to go speak at a funeral. And it's mainly Western friends of an Indian person, young man that I've known since he was a kid. He passed away recently. So all of his friends, 200-300 people coming, mainly Westerners. So I have a duty to speak about him because I've known him since he was a child. But I have another duty, which is more important, to somehow not necessarily get everyone there to chant, but at least to get them to hear the chanting, which is very effective. So I have my little plan. It's all written out. I do my little speech, but I'm going to make sure, because I was chastised once by my godbrother. I gave a class one time years ago, many years ago, maybe 40 something years ago. And I didn't mention the holy name once in that class. And that devotee so kindly chastised me. See, chastisement is very good to help us on the path. So he said, you didn't mention the holy name once, you idiot. What are you doing? So I follow his instruction to this day. So today I'm going to chant Hare Krishna for all these people so they get blessed. So the spirit of this young man will be blessed. The whole room will be blessed. His family, everyone will be blessed by hearing the holy name, because there's nothing but the holy name to be had in all the 14 worlds. There's nothing more powerful. As an institution, we need to truly understand it. I've seen some beautiful kirtan videos from all over the world, especially I like the ones from China and places, and devotees are just chanting from their heart. We just need to do that more and more and more. And then the world that's struggling so hard right now will become a better place. In fact, Srila Prabhupada mentions that by this chanting going on 24 hours a day all over the world, Kali Yuga will transform into Satya Yuga. That's how powerful it is. So again, therefore our request, so Prabhupada is requesting to all our students, that means all of you as well, who didn't see Prabhupada, who didn't physically have his association like some of us were fortunate to have, all our students, our request to all our students is that they daily chant at least 16 rounds of this Hare Nama Mahamantra, offenselessly. Learn the 10 offenses, what to avoid in chanting. That's called offenseless chanting. Following the regulative principles, 4 principles we have. Thus, their success will be assured without a doubt. So think about it. Chanting offenselessly, following the regulative principles, success will be assured. Lord Chaitanya assured the success of all these devotees by showing that I am the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Your following me is not, a waste of time. I'm the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So now we have the holy name, and we just chant offenselessly, 10 offenses, avoid them, and follow the 4 regular principles. I say sometimes many senior devotees, my godbrothers and god sisters, got so many instructions from Prabhupada. I didn't get an instruction from Prabhupada. Balabhadra, you do this. Balabhadra, you do that. Balabhadra, you do this. But I did get instruction from him. When I got initiated, he asked me, okay, what are the 4 rules? And I gave the 4 rules. Then he said positively, because that word positively, he said it to the devotee who went first for the initiation that day in Chicago. And when Prabhupada said positively, the devotee didn't know what he meant. He was bewildered, like, 16 rounds. That is the positive. The negative is don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, like in that Bhaja Huremana. The mind is telling Govindadas, you told me what not to do. Now, what should I do? Oh, Shravanam Kirtana. So Prabhupada said, positively chant 16 rounds every day. So he gave me that instruction. He blessed me that if I follow the 4 regular principles and chant my 16 rounds attentively, avoiding the offenses, success is assured. I'm working my best to try to stay on that and keep improving on that. One last thought is that in the business world, which some of you are involved in, they say there's only one thing that a business person who wants to be successful should even think. And that one thing is, how can I improve upon that which I do every day? We chant 16 rounds every day, hopefully. How can I improve? Well, you study what Prabhupada said. There's a book about all the quotes from Srila Prabhupada about the holy name. Study it. What is that? Namamrita. Everything, because there's nothing but the holy names to be had in all the 14 worlds. So I'm going to stop. If anyone has a quick question, if not, I will have to conclude. Any quick question?
The Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
Thank you very much for the nice class and a lot of information. And yes, that you said that chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra with attentively and concentrating on that. Yes, I do agree with that. Sometimes this monkey mind goes here and there. It just there. So bring it back. We have to bring it back and then just do. And now I have one question. I just look at the picture of a lotus feet of Krishna and then I do chant.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Of course, it's okay. As long as you're hearing the chanting. No problem. But you make sure you're hearing. Okay. And Prabhupada says, either Nectar Devotional Chaitanya, one should chant loud enough for himself to hear and for others to hear. Sometimes I hear devotees chanting.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they can't hear it because I definitely can't hear it. So we should chant loud enough for yourself to hear and for others. Tamal Krishna said one time at a meeting in Chicago, he said, there's a vibratory level, volume level at which each one of us chants and the mind surrenders. So you have to know, what is that level of chanting where my mind is just captured? His Holiness Jayapataka Maharaj used to chant very loud, so loud that devotees would leave the temple room. So Prabhupada told him, you can also go chant in the hills. Okay, you can go outside and chant as loud as you want. So it should not disturb the devotees, but it should be that your mind is captured. So if you're looking at, like I have the picture of Prabhupada playing Madanga, Prabhupada sitting in Atlanta, I have Gopal on the side, I have, oh my God, Radha Krishna here, and I'm chanting. But sometimes I try to look, but then my mind goes back to the chanting. But it's okay. To answer your question directly, as long as you can hear Hare Krishna and Hare Ram, as long as you hear it. My temple president Balabhadra taught us that if you can chant one round and hear every syllable, you will not have any disturbance for the whole day. What to speak of 16? We know it's difficult. Let us not fool ourselves. To hear every syllable in one round, you think it's easy? This is the austerity for the age. Your guy Sankirtan Pujaya Janti Hisumeda. So it's not easy. It's like an Ashwamedha Yajna. Not easy. But 10 million Ashwamedha Yajnas doesn't even compare to chanting your rounds nicely. So yes, Mataji, as long as you can hear, that's my answer. So again, yes.
One more question. You said Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam. So what are the three things you said for that?
Not by karma, not by jnana, not by yoga. Prabhupada mentions that.
Okay, karma.
Nastyeva, 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 nastyeva. Not this, not this, not that. So not karma.
And yoga.
Yeah, in other words, people think they can achieve success by karma, jnana, and yoga. Okay, they're all nice. There's nothing wrong with karma, jnana, yoga, but they will not take you back to Godhead. No, only this chanting. Emphasize 3 times. So as devotees, we should realize we need to focus on this. Everything else is transcendentally superfluous. It's good, decorative, nice, this and that. Real thing is chanting. So, Prabhu's Mataji's, thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Nice class.
And please give a good report to Vishnu Gada that I did okay.
They must be listening too.
Haribol Dhonitari, Prabhu.
Thank you, Balabhadra, so much.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Very nice instructions on the holy name that are very practical. I think that we can all apply. I appreciate that very much. And, sorry for your loss, for the funeral that you have to go to today. We'll, maybe we can chant a Hare Krishna Maha Mantra for this devotee.
His name is Sanjay, so let's do it together.
Sanjay.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. I will convey that to his family that you all chanted for him. Thank you so much.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna.